marketing person for the island and the PC and everything, so we want to make sure we brand this properly, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Guam Community College.
Here. Harris Blas. Present. We have a quorum. Dr. Mary Okada. Here. Bollinger. Here. Attorney Rebecca Wrightson. Here. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Recital of the mission statement. Guam Community College is a leader in career and technical workforce development, providing the highest quality student-centered education and job training for our nation. Second, can we review the minutes? Do we have any comments? Let's have a vote to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes have been approved. Okay, request for public discussion.
No request for public discussion.
Let's-
Status of the college, year-to-date for fiscal year 2021, the college has received $17,030,703. This equates to 91% based on the allotment schedule, so we financial position to support the operations of the college. And so that's where we are financially. In terms of capital improvement, the 400 water tank, the repair of the 900 awning is just pending the permit to begin the project shortly in the next couple of weeks, so that'll be ongoing. We do have another ship repair coming up as well, and the remainder of the 19 boot camps that will take us through December are on track and still working through identifying employer sponsors plus students to participate in each of those programs. We do have several, Vice President Gina Tudela has been working on updating several of the articulation agreements. In years past, we've had several articulation agreements, including Bellevue University, Chaminade University, First Asia Institute of Technology and Humanities. She's also working with our local university, PIU, in addition to the, and we were fortunate to get 3.6. So we are very appreciative of that. Student Success Center, we had a small group number of laptops that have been issued and MiFis. In the event that we need to purchase additional or provide additional MiFis for students, depending on the situation, then we are able to do that because we have some federal funding to support that.
How's enrollment?
Enrollment right now is at 1,650. It's a little bit down to 7. But the boot camps will help to infuse those numbers, start 20 students per cohort, so that those students haven't been registered yet. So the boot camps will help supplement the registration for the fall semester and spring semester going through.
How does the decrease in tuition, the decrease in enrollment, because it's actually substantial, going to affect the planning part of the whole institution that's, cost money to run, and I'm sure revenue factors in terms of tuition and stuff like that. So how is that all being navigated as we move forward so that we're not left with a lot of big buildings and no reduced revenues or whatever to operate the institution?
Yeah, so based on the fact there is an institutional student portion that is available directly to students. And so in spring of 2020, we received about $500,000. In spring of 21, we received another $500,000, and then dollars that are direct aid for students. And so that'll be allocated through the academic year. That's one pot of money. The second pot of money that we received, then we received another 2.8. So we have about $6 million that is used to support the transition from in-class learning to online learning, professional development, staff development, upgrades in air conditioning, air purification systems and stuff. So we still have about $5 million in that regard. In that particular pot of money, there is a provision that allows us to capture lost revenue. As we're still able to meet the obligations of the institution. But in the event that we need to do some calculation on lost revenues, then we could potentially charge some of that lost revenue to that particular funding source. And then we just recently received another pot of money a couple of weeks ago. It initially started off at $4,600, then it went up to $16,000. And now we have about $2.8 million as a minority serving institution, again, to support any increases in staff that we may need, to support technology, to continue to offset the cost of the technology fees that students pay. So we've been rebating that to students. But we're also looking to upgrade, like the generators on campus. We have a request also to put in for generators for the administration building. So we're looking at those as well. What we can't do is we can't use the money for construction, but we can use it for example, computer lab upgrades. We are doing a network upgrade, and so these different pots of money that have been available, we are being deliberate in how we are spending it so that it can be used to support the institution for a longer term. And then that will in turn allow us to decrease the cost initially for the next several years. And so it's kind of a balance with the infusion of federal funds for us.
So, and I guess my main concern is that we know that all this money is coming out. Next step, like what are we doing for recruiting the next round of students to come in? Are we focusing on the marketing aspect of bringing more students? Because it's really for the students that come in that help offset a lot of this stuff. So I'm just wondering if there's a plan in place to look ahead, further ahead, in terms of what happens after that money runs out. What are we going to be doing to sustain the institution? We're going to have all these new facilities, which is great. But what is the plan to move forward to be self-containing and sustain, to have a contingency plan to make sure that all the great work that we're doing here doesn't fall apart just because of the money that was coming in from the federal government side?
So there are a couple of initiatives. So we do have the Reach for College division here on campus that really is to recruit students that are currently in the high school to attend post-secondary. Increase that staff from 2 to 3. So very difficult the last year to do that because of the limitations in terms of getting access to the schools. But they've already set that footprint, and we've just increased the staff by 1 for that particular area. And then the early middle college concept is also included under that umbrella, so that it allows us to offer the dual degree for a high school student to receive a post-secondary credential upon graduation. And so that is already in motion. One thing we cannot use the federal funds is for recruitment. It's very specific that we can't use the funds for direct recruitment or to hire or to advertise or anything like that.
So can we identify a separate bucket of money so that we can look at that as well? Doesn't have to be federal funds, it can be different bucket, but I just feel like I just don't want to be caught with unprepared for when things crash and there's no more federal money coming in, there's very little, when they start reducing everything, like we still need to be able to support maintenance, teachers and all of these things that we...
The next set of legislation at the federal level that the college will significantly benefit from is President Biden's support for free community college. And so that is kind of in the horizon that we see if that gets through. So it'll kind of carry us much longer than what we currently have. And we've been watching that very closely because if that is passed here, they're really focusing on community colleges. And so in terms of using that as a maybe part 1 of the backup plan, I think it's a very good thing as long as we're monitoring it, but not discontinuing any efforts that we currently have for recruitment. We have almost 3,000 students in secondary that could, I don't want to say easily, but that can transition into post-secondary with a little bit more effort. These boot camps right now that we are offering is really offering jumpstart for many
Yes.
individuals. Once they get into the boot camp, many of them, how we have it set up is to enter into registered apprenticeship. And so those boot camps are actually feeding it. So that's another process that we're working. Although we identified 19 boot camps that we would have launched starting from, or earlier this year through December, those boot camps don't end in December. We will be allowed to continue. And we've been meeting with several industry representatives for the expansion of industries here on Guam to support their workforce needs. And there are several in the pipeline that they've reached out to us to offer more training for those. And so all of the boot camps have been again, step in the door into post-secondary education with the support of
Dr. Cuddy, I think the main point, right, is all of us here at the board, we're looking at it as a business, right? And enrollment, I think, is that key thing. And if we see a drop, then, it's correlated with a certain amount of revenue. So maybe what we can talk about is, what's the school doing? Do we have some form of plan or initiative to tackle that? For example, we had discussions, nursing cohorts, they fill up, and we have a backlist. Cosmetology, there's a backlist if people wanted to take that programs. So what can we do to allocate our resources in order to drive?
Open up those areas that
Yeah.
are potential sources of
Yeah.
revenue as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, no, fantastic on the information,
Yes,
but I think just kind of to
absolutely.
Deb's
Yeah.
point, maybe what we do is, let's come up with a
Go
program
ahead
or plan.
and look at the drawing plans and look at the areas where people can come in to the college because we don't have enough classes open, or what can we do to open them? Can we offer, students don't go elsewhere?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the right.
One nice thing that's coming up with the plans is an actual daycare. And I think that's going to be something huge for enrollment, is to provide a solution for daycare so that a student, a mother or father, can attend college, right? So I think that's one of the roadblocks for enrollment too, it's going to happen very soon.
I really like that word that you used, roadblock for enrollment. How
Yeah.
can,
I want to recognize the cohort program in the GCC and the
Yes.
team of GCC and our community stakeholders, and I truly see that and make sure these have a taste in how it's going to be on the community college.
Yes.
Give them open their eyes. It's like, I can further myself into the diploma and other certificates to realize and come at the pace of it and getting into the different certifications that can go and really further out where they might be interested. And I know a bunch of those CNAs, students in the home health aid, the support of the community partners that we have, really recognize it and really great. This is the only way that we can move further, and I'm so happy we're going to continue to do those cohorts.
So there are, and we can provide a list of all the different areas that we are looking to expand. So one of the things that we came across about a week or so ago was really expanding cosmetology into the high schools. And so there's an opportunity for us to do that. The second thing is expanding health occupation. And of course, part of that is connected to the recruitment of faculty in order to expand those programs. The third thing is that we just recently, we did a pilot on it's a one course that they did, really an introductory. And so what we're doing right now is start. And so we're going to further expand on that. So once they finish high school for the law enforcement piece. So what I can do is provide a comprehensive list of all the different occupations that we have and areas where we can search in terms of enrollment. Because yes, you're right. What we're doing here is really providing hardening the facilities because some facilities are vulnerable,
Yeah.
but expanding the facilities also so that students have access to the campus, computer labs and the technology that is available for them. Those are things that we're working on.
and we're looking at, I'm sorry.
But Deb, maybe what we can also talk about is, remember we talked about the high school, right? That was a big thing. We're waiting on property to do the high school. That's always been kind of one of the things that's hard. If we have a high school, workforce development high school, to UOG or other institutions of excellence, right?
Yeah, and I think that's my thing here is workforce, because you're not going to improve a community without training. I mean, that's a fact. So when you look at the population of indigent people that are on, let's say, for example, welfare or food stamp or government assistance, is there a way to tie in housing or whatever these assistances with training? Like, you can't say go out and you can continue your benefits. That needs to stop. We need to focus on improving all our people, all of them. So if we're looking at, this is a pool of money here that's coming in from the indigent program, and they have timelines, because I know that at one point they were in place. I don't believe they're removed yet, unless something happened. But if they're not removed, so maybe we can start looking at collaboration, stuff like that, you know, that offer these things, that we can start training our people. Whether it's government employees, upskill, whether it's degrees, I don't really care. But we need to really focus on bringing the entire island up, because that's the only way we're going to be able to withstand any type of hiccups and bumps down the line in the next 5 years or so. It's by having our own skilled workers. That's all I want.
No, thank you.
You're welcome. I know, it's just a little bit of a passion of mine, so.
Appreciate it.
Mayor, real quick, do you have a number on the financial impact of the for the decrease from this year to last year?
So, like I said,
It's 150 students, 157, right?
yeah, so the key point is going to be how many are full-time, how many are part-time, because the number is for us, and I don't have the information, is how many seats are being used. So a student may be taking one course and students may be taking full-time, but that number is just the total number of students for the semester. And those are just preliminary numbers because we just started. And so by, like I said, the medical coding boot camp, and that's about 40 students, 24 students for the 2 boot camps. And so, but that's just one cohort. The ship repair is about 25, and so those are not in the count that I just gave you. So those will be infused during the semester once the boot camp starts. And there's still a few more left.
I was talking about a dollar value.
Oh, the dollar value, yeah, it would be
Financial
dependent
impact.
upon how many seats they're, or how many classes they're taking in, so I can get that information.
Maybe Ron can help us, you can push in what was made with the boot camps, that we can give trustees a long on the number.
Okay, I can get that and send that information to you.
Just out of curiosity.
Good questions.
So would it be a evaluation of seats as opposed to credit hours, total credit hours that are being paid for on the revenue stream? Or?
So seats equate to the credit hour,
Okay.
yeah. But credit, of course, credit hour is at $130, for $130 per credit hour. What is currently being the only thing we're offsetting right now is the technology fee, plus then the direct aid. And so it would also be important for us to understand how many students are on financial aid, because we anticipate that number would have gone up, because there are some additional provisions given in case they lost their jobs. Because normally your financial aid is based on the semester, based on a tax return of several years ago. And so any extenuating circumstance adds to whether or not the students. So one of the other issues, or not issues, but one of the other projections are how many students are on financial aid. Because if they're on financial aid, they'll either get a certain amount for full-time or part-time. And so, those of course are, because they're charged to the financial aid, those are direct revenue sources. And some of this federal money can help offset those balances as well. But we'll get to the calculated figure as to the.
Okay, let's move forward. Was there anything else that you wanted to discuss before we move on?
That should be it.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to the monthly activity reports. Paris.
Afternoon, Chairman, and board members. So I prepared a report, I do have the fall 2021 student activity for the semester. However, of course, that's subject to change, right, with the executive order and social distancing and regulation. So in July, we held the COPS and Holidays summer leadership training. Some of those trainings included the introduction of who the COPS officers are, the organizational chart for GCC, the calendar, budget, of course, and activities for the academic year 2021 and 22. And then also we were able to revise and update the student handbook, which was posted on our GCC website. Revised it, made some revisions, right? And we posted that up. So students, that was available first. We also revised or went over the student organization handbook for the academic year 21-22. And then for fall and spring, we also with the venue of activities. And then we did our orientation and campus tour, and also the completed thing. That was held on Monday, August 9th in the MPA. Total number of students in attendance for the orientation was 244. And number of students in attendance on the campus tour was 27. With Dr. Mary's the enrollment, right? So distancing, of course, and wearing a mask. Then sports during academic year 20. That was a question during the orientation that came up with several students. You know, what sports activities do we have for the academic year? Financial aid concerns. One of them was a way that could be transmitted directly to financial aid versus the students having to go in, you know, physically to different, because it's not an easy task. And that was one of them that was because of, you know, COVID situation, pandemic and whatnot. So is there a way to go through? There was 8 of them that addressed transcripts with the Department of Revenue and Taxation.
You mean the
So the age of
tax,
tax
copy of the
Tax
tax?
documents for financial
For
aid.
financial aid.
Yes.
Something we can move without. So I know that there's the card is full, so there's nothing recorded. I know that there is some adjustment that was made for verification of financial aid that took place this year. So if they had connected with the financial aid office, they had to declare their income, but I think the documentation, there was some adjustment or contact the financial aid office, because I don't believe the verification of, or the actual check the financial aid office, that came out. That's why we did the financial aid training during the summer, so that students were aware of the new provisions, and if they had any adjustments to their, you know, to their employment or their household income, that they were going to be able to provide that.
Training recorded?
It was available, it was not recorded, but it was streamed live. And it
Yeah,
was
it's on
also
the Facebook.
It's on the Facebook
Oh,
page. So
good,
then it
good.
would- So we extended registration up until last Friday,
Yeah.
because classes actually started the Wednesday before. And we allowed for a few adjustments to take place on Monday and Tuesday, provided those courses had not already had their second class. But one of the requirements, and documenting that as a, because it is a requirement in the federal fund, updated requirements for financial aid. And we'll do more sessions this semester. The spring semester schedule will probably open around October. So we'll
A lot of that too had to do with if they were poor recipients. You know, there was an adjustment made to their, have been, you know, a delay in the student's process. But nevertheless, I mean, nonetheless, the registration was extended, so give them more time.
I you probably don't know the answer, but I just have a question. I'm wondering if they went back to financial aid to get more information? Or did they just make it?
Assume, but I was
Yeah.
thinking that, you know, I mean, it could be, you know, the financial aid process, you know, if they're not properly advised or educated on the process.
This is
But
why-
because we,
Yeah.
but because we have the workshop, you know, maybe some of them just couldn't make it, you know,
Yeah,
I'm thinking,
yeah.
or fulfill the, right?
There needs to be, because it can be guided.
So
in
we did,
advance.
There is.
Yeah.
we did provide all the information on social media,
Yeah.
through Facebook, through the Instagram accounts, advertising Saturdays. So
Yes.
students who wanted to
Right.
see an academic counselor on a Saturday because they work during the week, so we opened the campus half day on Saturdays. I believe it started in June and ended like the first week of August. So we tried to provide more opportunities for them to come. And so we'll just ramp up those financial aid conversations. And if you can encourage them to, even if they send an email to financial aid will respond to them. Send it to them, and so they can directly contact the student one-on-one to help them through that process. Because they're probably used to the process that happened in the past and not understanding that a modified mechanism is in place for them to continue. And so we just need to reach out to them.
And surely, if it's gonna come out on this date, we really do need to bump it up, push it out.
Yeah.
Start pushing it out for next semester, something like that.
You said there are going to be some outreach again this semester for spring, right?
Yes.
Yeah. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I've seen it, all the extensions and stuff. I think what Deb wants to do, let's do an outreach.
Overall, students are glad, they're glad to be back on campus, face-to-face, studying at home, and online. Some still struggle with that, right? And then campus is well lit at night. I had the opportunity to kind of run the roaming security on campus, so that is, it's perfect, yeah.
I just want to comment, I really appreciate your reporting. This is like really good information that we need to hear. So thank you, because without getting that perspective from the students on the deficits, now at least we can focus and figure out how to close those gaps. So thank you, Robert. I appreciate it.
So our next executive and general membership meeting will be on Friday, September 10th, 2021 at 12 noon. And that's all for me. If you have any questions,
Thank you.
I was president last year, and so I was attending the academic affairs division meetings, and it was really great to see a different perspective of the institution, and I feel like now here's another opportunity for that. So personally, I'm excited to help out in efforts and to work with everybody here. I think faculty are excited to be back, but they're still cautious, of course. I think some students want advisement, and students, and where can we eat lunch, and where can we, I think people are really excited and happy to be back, and just looking forward.
I'm really happy to hear that we're thinking away. So we need to learn how to live with it, right? And everybody stay safe. So I'm really happy to hear. Thank you for your report.
For Trustees Community Outreach Report.
Well, as president of the Guam Nurses, actually, I'm exiting out this year.
GNA?
Into the Allied Health Program, the GNA board, and the Commission of Nursing Leaders are nursing leaders in the community that can do all systems or anything that you can pick our brains as we put this program together. Aside from myself sitting here, we're really happy to go to them, and we're so excited for us at the GCC to really expanding in our certification program. As you know, the university will also have faculty to meet the number of cohort of the nursing program, and I know we're having also challenges here, and it's not going to be a continuous challenges on the recruiting for the exciting things about in Guam nursing community group is there's a lot of big pool of people that hopefully that we can partake or share that some of their time. This is a requirement for becoming a faculty at the master's program, so we're really pursuing that to at least come back and help teach in our GCC and also in the university. So we're kind of like, and we're keeping an eye on how all of this cohort program, everything in the Allied Health, how this is expanding. Not only on the nursing, healthcare community workforce is really a challenge. The staff right now, even a lot of staff are feeling the burnout. After a year and a half right now with the situation that we're in. And we all know that COVID is fluid and dynamic, and it's still going to continue. And it's like, how are we really going to live with this in the future? Some of the technical components that we're really excited is this Louisiana.
Especially advocating for the healthcare and nursing and other things. So this is good. Please bring your ideas.
And then a couple of the graduation here, especially the medical home care and
Thank you.
so that's why Rose and I are participating.
There is this combination of adult and high school. They are respecting because most of them like, I'm going to try and do this certification program, but my goal is really to go to GCC,
Oh, wow.
to go into an LPN program, or to go, because you make it like, UOG is really hard to inspire them. I'm like, yeah, LPN is really great for you to be part of the 7. 4 of that wanted to go to school to GCC. So have a job instead from the hospital industry or working in a restaurant that goes down, maybe I can, now I can see
Good point.
that there is a work needed and the medical aspect.
Also, Mr. Chair, the legislature just passed an increase, or so having been a former, hospital administrator, because, they can jump here or there for mother in the house.
Public health into the planning. And they can have an understanding what would be the workforce needs. So they say that they're gonna give, if they're gonna expand how many hospital beds, that equates to how many CNAs, how many LPNs that's needed. And then we can plan ahead and then also go in increasing an enrollment. Employment for this, a workforce needs in this community, let's focus an effort and doing some ER tests.
I think that's a
CNA.
brilliant idea. Because
So we need to have that in the plan. It's not only for the hospital, but it's also for the public health. And something that we can probably hybrid, I don't want to put pressure in the island. And how can we work, I'm going to research on that, to become a community healthy. Because those are the healthy.
So the forensic DNA,
Looks good.
forensic DNA, you can see that the shell is already done, so they're doing a lot of the material work already. So that's right now scheduled, on track to be scheduled. We have already ordered the equipment, the furniture and equipment for the classrooms. And of course, GPD is working on outfitting their collateral equipment in the backside, and they have several